A little bit of an intro slide. My name is Nathan Williams. I am a VDC Specialist, actually, not engineer. But I've been with Knutson now for a little around 4 to 5 years.
All right, my name is Kirsten Olson. I'm also a VDC Specialist, and I have been with Knutson for a little over 1.5 years, so still pretty fresh to all of this.
I've been with Knutson for 5 years now. One thing just about our crew that you see on this stage, we are all going to be kind of telling from a project focus rather than kind of internal management focus. So I'm just trying to bring that thought process to the conversation here. So just running through the agenda real quick, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Knutson, talk about how we kind of implement Knutson at VDC, and then running through 2 project examples that Nathan and Kirsten will hit on. And then kind of setting our sights into where we want to take cmBuilder to kind of the next level at Knutson. So a little bit about Knutson. We are a family-owned business. We've been in business since 1911. We are based out of the Midwest region in the United States. Specifically, we have 3 offices in Minnesota, one in Wisconsin. We do about $700 million of work every year. And then we really kind of focus in on our self-perform work, working in on concrete, masonry, and other carpentry work. The one thing that's not noted on here is we are actually, for our VDC department, we are a five-person team, so you are seeing more than half on stage right now. So different resources and just kind of hopefully setting the kind of the conversation here of just kind of what we have to work with and how we kind of go about supporting our projects. So the one thing that we really focused in on in kind of 2026 was really changing the culture of how VDC is implemented at Knutson Construction. Historically, we have focused more towards an opt-in versus opt-out. We are trying to completely kind of change that, turning VDC more into a complete business, basically a business reason, and having it implemented on every single project. To be humble about it, we have great wins, and we have also had kind of areas where we've fallen short on that. Again, it comes down to the specific project type, the owner, a bunch of different factors that come into play, and we're still trying to work through that and just kind of trying to share that journey. I am going to skip over, obviously, I think there is a very heavy VDC department here. I think we all know the benefits, how VDC helps the projects. So I'm just going to kind of skip over some of those points for now, just for time's sake. But the thing I want to kind of highlight on this is pay attention to when Kirsten and Nathan talk about the projects that they're going to share. Hear the different options of the opting in versus opting out, and how that affect the conversation that they had with the PMs, and also how that affected how VDC showed up. One thing I want to just kind of highlight on that is that even if any project here at Knutson is set up as an opt-out service, they still give us a call, and we're going to be saying, hell yeah, like how can we support you? How can we kind of help support the project? So no matter what project we're put on, we're coming up, we're going to try to support it as much as we can. So that's going to lead into the cmBuilder kind of roadmap here on the next slide. So I wanted to start off with kind of when we started with cmBuilder. 2021 was our first cmBuilder project. That's actually pulled a snippet from that first project we started off. This was the best snippet I could pull. Shout out to cmBuilder. You guys have done some really great advancements since that project we worked with. It was actually so broken that I had to go through and clear some stuff up because of some of the functions we had in the past just didn't work. The one thing I'll be humble about, and I think we all are open to it, is that I would love to say that we are a power user house of cmBuilder, being that we've had it so long. Unfortunately, it's not the case. We had a position where that cmBuilder stayed in the pursuit world for us. It was a great pursuit tool, and that's kind of where it stayed. When the pursuit came through and we needed to brush it off, we'd tap into it and we loved it. But we really never took that outside of the pursuit and kind of brought it onto the project, and that was a shortfall of our own doing. And really can't put any blame besides this, we didn't implement it right. When that started to change was actually in 2025. I got the chance to come out to cmBuilder Site Summit 3 last year, and saw the great presentations and how different teams started to implement that on site, bringing that into live projects, supporting the choices, and just showing the really cool demos. And so that's kind of where our milestone 3 came through. Is as soon as that conference was over, I left that the next day, met up with Nathan and said, hey, Nathan, I know you're working on this parking ramp project. You're doing the concrete pours. You're doing our lift drawings. Let's take it to the next level of supporting a project that we haven't done in the past and really try to bring the validation of everything we're putting into the modeling effort to begin with and bringing that into tying the schedule to it and really pushing our limits to it. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Nathan to kind of talk through some of the highlights of that project.
Yeah, thank you, Hunter. So let's talk about our parking ramp. So if you're here yesterday for our panelists, this is the same project and area that they were working in. To kind of set the stage for this project specifically before I press play on this video, is that just like Hunter mentioned before, in the past, VDC was an opt-out service, and this parking ramp was an example of that, where they came to us and said, we don't want any of the services, this is just a parking ramp, we can build it. Like, we'll come to you if we have problems. And within 2 weeks, they came to us with problems. So I'll press play here, but this was a very high-profile client. So the deliverable that we were looking for was one to be dynamic, but also powerful. And cmBuilder seemed to be the perfect fit for this. So another big part of this project is that the big story was that we were trying to test our personal Knutson internal limits with cmBuilder. Because as Hunter said before, this has kind of sat on a shelf as just a pursuit tool. And we wanted to take that and flip it on its head and apply it to something on a live project instead of just the pursuit realm. And this seemed to fit the bill pretty well. So to dive into that a little bit more, the way that we did that was supporting our self-perform team. So what we've done in the past is we've built out pour sequence drawings that indicate when the pours are going to take place, how much cubic yards, how many trucks were needed, and a colorized pour sequence 2D plan. And what we did with cmBuilder in this one is we were able to apply it to a 4D environment with color coding. So why this was super important was because there was a lot of involvement with the owner, but also with the city overall. These cmBuilder models in this slideshow here was actually used with the police department to help better understand how the roads are going to be used when they were pouring concrete. So yeah, that was the main use case of this one. And what was really cool is that we had that aha moment finally of where we were looking for kind of like the bite of this isn't just a pursuit tool, this can actually bring value to conversations and decision making on a live project. And from that point, I think we can all agree with this, that when they took it and ran with it, we finally had that aha moment of they didn't want technology for the sake of technology. There was value in this, which is why they continued to come back to us. And at the same time, while we were supporting this pour sequence and this parking ramp, other job suits saw the value, and they came to us and said, we actually have other projects that could use this. And that's where Kirsten kind of steps in with a more high-risk project compared to just a 4D schedule of a parking ramp.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Nathan. All right, so I will be walking you through our utility tunnel project. So like Nathan's project, this is part of that sort of broader project that was talked about in the panel discussion yesterday, being that it was part of an overall larger healthcare utility expansion in a dense urban setting. And so unlike Nathan's project, however, this one was a VDC opt-in. So right from the beginning, our team was involved with BIM coordination meetings, clash detection, scanning. But as you'll see in just a moment, we were asked to take our VDC services just a step further. So I want to give an overview of what this project entails first. So referencing this image on the screen here, this is actually a cross-section of that underground utility tunnel. And as you can see, there are several utilities running through here, ranging from chilled water supply and return, a couple of steam lines, and some cable trays. And what needed to happen here is those utilities needed to remain in place and intact while the concrete structure around them was demolished. And so as you can imagine, a project like this carries several different kinds of risks. The first being design clarity, so just a question of, what is the design of the supports going to look like for this? The project schedule, so as this project was supposed to take place, there was a scheduled chilled water shutdown that needed to happen within a very specific timeline. And if we had missed that window, then that shutdown would have been delayed by a full year. And tying into the design is the question of construction phasing. So what are the events that need to happen and in what sequence do they happen? And then last but absolutely not least, there were some major safety concerns here, especially regarding the high pressure steam line running through this tunnel. So during construction, if that line were to be damaged or moved just a little too much, there was a potential for it to explode. And as you can imagine, that would cause some pretty catastrophic damage or serious harm. And because of that, our team actually nicknamed this the Death Tunnel. All right, so as our project team went through and identified all of these different risks, they approached our VDC team to ask if we had any tools available to help them better visualize and understand this project, as well as mitigate some of those risks. And so the process for this looked like our project team hosted these weekly design and review meetings that started approximately 2 or 3 months before construction. And in these meetings, we had our project team, the VDC team, our trade partners, and the engineers on board for this project. And during these meetings, the team would sit down and discuss all of the safety requirements, the design elements, as well as hash out the construction sequence. And I had no part in any of the engineering or the design, but I was able to take the team's vision and first model it in Revit, and then put it into cmBuilder. So, there was several iterations of this design review process, and we actually ended up on a final design. But before we did that, there were several instances where I would present the animation in cmBuilder at these weekly meetings and stop at various milestones and let the team discuss whether or not we were on the right track. And there were a couple of instances where the team noticed some things that weren't quite jiving right with the design, and that actually led to a couple of different design changes. And I really believe that if we had just been using 2D drawings instead of cmBuilder, we certainly would have missed those items. So again, after several iterations of this, we ended up on a final design and sequence. First being the installation of an ERS and excavation down to the tunnel, which is shown in that first image there. The second step was to drop the utility loads down to the floor. So what I mean by this is the utilities, there were several of them that were actually attached to the tunnel lid, and those needed to be transferred down to some temporary supports on the floor of the tunnel. And that's kind of shown in the upper right-hand image, although it's probably a little bit difficult to see. But that allowed the team to go through and demolish the tunnel lid as well as the tunnel walls, which is shown in the lower left image. And then they placed some plywood sheeting on top to protect the utilities in there. And then the last step here was the installation of some overhead support beams, and that's shown in the lower right image. So those beams were placed directly on top of the ERS. And then from those beams, there were threaded rods that came down and attached to the utilities running in that tunnel. So at this point, the utilities were no longer supported from the floor, but were instead hanging from these overhead support beams. And that allowed the team to go through and continue with the demolition of the tunnel. So that is approximately where we are at today in this construction sequence. We have successfully demolished the tunnel and have the utilities temporarily supported from those beams. And we have accomplished this without any explosions, so excellent job to our team there. And And going forward, the next steps would be to actually build back a new tunnel around these utilities. And of course, we are going to continue using cmBuilder to help us hash out that construction sequence. And with that, I'll pass it back to Hunter, who's going to talk about some of our next steps.
So this is kind of where we're trying to take that. So obviously from 2021 to 2025, we fumbled the ball, to put it plainly. We are now trying to kind of catch up and play a little catch up on how we use cmBuilder. We want to take that to the next level. The first step that we're going to do, and I think multiple teams have already said that and how they're going to implement it, is continuously staying visible. That is not just looking at our upper management team and saying, hey, we've got this cool tool, can you push it down from a top down? Coming from basically a bubble up. Let's look at those PMs, let's look at the superintendents, let's see the people that are actually using that tool, continuously staying visible to them. That's going to be kind of our first step, really trying to drive that innovation from a bottom up situation. Looking at then continuously to grow our experience. I think the more projects that we get, Kirsten and Nathan showed two great examples of how we completely just kind of changed what we thought cmBuilder was, what cmBuilder's capabilities were, to bringing that onto a live project. So continuously pushing, continuously training our team members to become experts, to become knowledgeable, and starting to identify some of those champions or subject matter experts within Knutson to help drive those trainings and to help share the knowledge of what we can do with cmBuilder. And then the last one is, again, making better choices on projects. That utility tunnel that Kirsten showed was a huge safety concern from our get-go, even before that CDs were completed. That was one thing of sharing the stories of how better choices are made on projects and the reasoning behind that, and not just showing a fun, flashy tool is going to actually help create that adoption and help kind of push Knutson to be better with cmBuilder. So that is completing our presentation. Opening it up to any questions.